Welcome to the Triple P podcast, Preds, Pucks, Pinoys, hosted by Justin Bradford and Matt Best.
Welcome into the Triple P podcast, Preds, Pucks, and Pinoys. Justin Bradford, Matthew Best.
Why'd you full name me? Am I in trouble with you already?
Well, you've already told me to, F off and to eat A. So,
yeah, because you were showing me your nacho hat that you got from a live sporting game, to which I said probably right about now. If someone told me I could go watch the Jays at the Rogers Center for Canada Day, because that's always a great time, I hate what you're doing. I would give up a testicle.
I
would.
This hat was full of nachos.
And now it's empty.
And now it's a hat.
Will you ever wear it?
I mean, I've already worn it a couple of times for pictures.
What's wrong with you?
What do you mean?
Was this right after you ate the nachos?
No, I cleaned out the hat first. I didn't have cheesy hair.
Yeah, I didn't know if you were going to be a dirtbag and just have cheese hair.
I wasn't intoxicated. We had to drive home that night.
Yeah, that's smart. You're a responsible human being.
Thank you. Anyways, the Nashville Predators made some news. Viktor Arvidsson traded to the LA Kings for a 2021 second and a 2022 third. This was interesting because I actually was a guest on Locked On Kings.
What's that?
Oh, come on. And it was interesting. It was interesting because this is one of those trades too where you're going to get mixed reactions because it's a fan favorite player. But a lot of people also understand that he has not been the same for 2 seasons and that he has been kind of a downward spiral and he's been injury prone, things of that sort. So it's an interesting take in the fan base. And a lot of people comment, you're like, I love him. He's one of my favorite players, but I also understand the reason why. Like, that is an absolutely, completely 100% fair take that, yeah, you can be upset that your favorite player was traded, but you also understand why. And the reason behind it. This was a trade. My first initial reaction, Matt, was that's a good trade. That's a pretty decent return. You get one of them's in 2022, a very deep draft. You stock up. You have 2 seconds this year, and especially LA with where they were, it's 40th overall. That's not bad for a second round pick. Even if it's in a weaker draft, you're still stocking up. Or you now have assets to utilize to trade for something else or to throw at Seattle if you want to get them to take a certain player. And you have cap space now to deal with because you still have plenty of free agents to re-sign as the Nashville Predators, one of them being Juuse Saros, who's due a big raise, and Mikael Granlund potentially. And then you even look to the next year after that, and you have Philip Forsberg and Mattias Ekholm coming up if one of them doesn't move. That's my first overall initial take before we dive in. So what was your initial take, especially, again, as we always say, someone in Toronto, surrounded by hockey up there too. What was your reaction, and then what did you see from just the people that you're around in your circle?
My reaction was just, that's good. Just flat out, that's good for both sides. LA's a young and upcoming team, which feels really weird to say because it feels like the rebuild didn't actually even start or end. They kind of just transitioned. Right. And adding Arvidsson to that forward group is pretty good, especially when you have a Kopitar, a Byfield, and Iafallo. You have all these guys, and you can shift Dustin Brown back to that third line role, which is where ideally you want him to be. But you can put Arvy and plug and play him here. A friend of the show, Chris Arnold, asked me, he's like, where do you think Arvidsson plays? Like, what line? I don't have an answer for that because I don't think the LA Kings are done. I think you won't be able to tell their top 6 until probably close to the end of training camp. Like, some teams have it just, it's going to be Matthews, Marner, and whoever. And for like certain teams it's going to be X, X, and X. Their first lines. That's not going to change. With LA, with all the different pieces that are coming through, you don't really know what their top 6 is going to be. I mean, yeah, you can slot in Kopitar. Iafallo could play second line. Velarde could go up and play second line, or he could shift back down to third. Like, there's so many working parts for that team. So I like it for them. For Nashville, when I saw this, I was like, this is smart. Instead of just asset control, you just have draft picks, which is perfect. You're not getting another asset. You're not getting a mid-tier prospect. You're not getting any of that. You're getting pieces that you could flip to other teams. I always think that getting draft picks compared to like an okay prospect is better right before the expansion draft and right before the free agency and right before the actual draft, because it's easy to sell another team on draft picks. It's hard to sell a team on a prospect that they don't necessarily believe in. So if they got these pieces, and we've seen this in the past before, where a team goes out, does one trade, and then uses those assets and pushes them into a different trade, I could see that happening with the Predators here, and perhaps attaching it to a Johansson, to a Duchesne, because now you have those extra pieces, and you can go to the team and be like, hey, instead of taking like Afanasyev or any of those guys, why don't you take this second and third round pick? And then the team can be like, I could do what I want with this, I guess. This is nice. I think it's a good hockey trade. Without, like, I know we'll dive into the logistics of what it means for the Predators and the wiggle room, but I think if you take all of that hoopla out and you just look at what it is, Arvidsson for a second and third, it's pretty good.
Yeah, and I know some people are like, well, why not a first? If I saw someone say, well, if Foligno got a first, why an Arvidsson? It's like, the way the trade market works is that a player is worth what a team is willing to give up and what a team is willing to take.
And at the certain part of the season too.
At a certain time. That's the market. That's the value that determines that. And it's always fluctuating. It's always changing. I have no doubt in my mind that multiple teams talked to David Poile about Viktor Arvidsson, especially if Poile made it known that he was on the block.
Yep.
No doubt. This was probably the best deal and the best situation. There might have been teams within the division. You probably wouldn't want to send Arvidsson within the division just because you know what kind of player he is. And he could be, when he's healthy, he's problematic because he is the type of player that can cause problems in front of the net.
Yeah.
Going to LA makes sense. It'd be a good change of scenery for him. Overall, I think it's good for him because if he's healthy, he can help that team in many different ways because he's willing to sacrifice his body and go to the nets. And if you put him with a Kopitar, that's the type of center that actually helps him be better, Viktor Arvidsson.
Yeah.
So there's so many different things on this, but the value is what is given up at that time and what people see as the best deal. Just because you think a player is worth this doesn't mean they're always going to be worth it. You can't say, well, if this person got this, then this. That's not how sports trading works.
You can't sell like Viktor Arvidsson of 2 years ago. It's the same thing with selling a car. You can't sell that car 2 years ago for the same, or you can't sell that car right now at the price you paid for it 2 years ago. It's totally different.
Next week that'll change.
There's wear and tear on it. As soon as you take that car off the market or off the lot and you drive it around a bit, it's got some bumps, it's got some bruises. That's what Arvidsson has. And I mean, can that car still rip it up and down the road? Yeah, but it might fall apart eventually, and that's what I think Arvidsson is, right? Like, he's a guy, when he's healthy, I think he can be a 25-goal scorer. Yes. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. So if he goes off,
and only 28,
and if he only misses 10 games next year, 25 is a real thing, easy. I think he could. He could hit that. But at the same time, if you're the Predators, you're happy with that because that's the Viktor Arvidsson that you're willing to give up because you know where his ceiling is. I think his actual value is somewhere between his 30-plus goal season and 25 to 30. That's where he sits for me.
Yeah, and for me, I think you're not going to see that 30-goal season again. What I told Locked On Kings was I think expect a 20-goal season. I mean, that would be a good season for him now, is a 20 to 25-goal season, and that's totally fine. That also, his previous performance is why they got a second and third next year.
Oh, yeah.
Because if not, he'd be worth a third and a fourth. That second is the Kings saying, well, we see what he could potentially do when he's healthy. And I think, too, based on what I saw for some King and league reaction in terms of fans, people still value Arvidsson higher than I think Predators fans do because Predators fans are there every single game watching. They see the rush shots that are on the rush that just go straight to the chest oftentimes, that have trailed down in terms of what his production's been on the rush shots on the rush. And they see his injury proneness more than I think fans in the rest of the league do as well. If you're closer to the team, you see the ins and outs, the ebbs and flows of a player and the injuries, the types of shots they take, which is good. That's a good thing that the Predators fans undervalue him and other fans still overvalue him. But that's what we're seeing in this too. I think this is a decent return. It's a fair trade, and I think it works well now as we shift gears to what it does for the Predators because it provides them with what they need, and they still shouldn't be done. I mean, there's still more work to do, but this is a good first step because David Poile, when he appeared on ESPN 102.5 The Game in the afternoon on Thursday, and he was asked about this, and he said, this is what he said, that he had been talking to the Seattle Kraken and was told that if Arvidsson was exposed in the expansion draft, they would take him.
Which is smart. That's the move.
And so what did Poile do? He went and got something in return instead of losing Arvidsson for nothing. Therefore, these picks and the salary cap wiggle room gives Poyle more opportunity to wiggle a little bit with the Kraken, whether it's to offer more picks to say, hey, would you mind taking this guy? It's a long shot. I think this is a real long. Seattle knows they have the power. Every team knows that the team that is doing the expansion draft has the power, but it gives more assets available for Poyle to trade. Maybe it's not even to Seattle. Maybe it's to somebody else who wants to dump a contract off. Hey, you want to take this Duchesne contract? We'll throw in a second and a third, and they're LA, so they're going to be even higher.
Yeah.
You never know. These are all long shots, but it gives more opportunity to wheel and deal because then you're not even losing your own picks. If you keep your own picks, that's great. If you have more, that's great too, because you never know what's going to turn out with an asset. And back to Arvidsson, they got some really good years out of a guy that was skipped over in the draft and drafted in the 4th round. And they got really good production out of a guy that was in that passageway that was skipped over and a 4th round pick as well. That's pretty good bang for your buck out of a 4th round pick.
It's tough for Arvidsson too, because I mean, his second full season with the team, he goes out and scores 31 goals. It's pretty unheard of unless you're a pretty high prospect. How many high second rounders have we seen throughout the league? And it's like, oh, he's going to be pretty good. Second year, give him another year. Arvidsson's like, hello, I'm here. I'm ready. And just went out. And I think the one thing in order for Arvidsson to be more successful with the Kings is he just has to go back to being a high volume shooter. His shooting percentage in his 31 goal years, 29, 34 goal year, 12, 11, 17. Last year, 6. Year before that, 11. So he just needs to shoot the puck a hell of a lot more, because in those seasons, 246 shots, 247, 195. In 50 games last year, just 151 shots. Year before in 57, 127 shots. It's not the yips. It's nothing like that. It's not him flustered in David Poyle's system. It's just, it's not working. And it's a lot to do with, he's injury prone and he's not the same player. I understand that. But I think he just needs to go get a fresh start. I think this is a kind of thing where a fresh start will do him well. And what you were saying, too, with asset protection, it just piggybacks what I was saying earlier, too, in the terms of how much easier is it to sell to a general manager, hey, do you want Matt Duchesne and draft picks? Or is it, hey, do you want Matt Duchesne and take a chance on Viktor Arvidsson?
Right.
Like, it's so much easier. It's, hey, take on $8 million. Give us like 3 or 4 back. That's okay. But instead, also go take these draft picks so you're not taking on $12 million.
Right. Right. And a lot of you ask questions on Twitter. We'll get to those probably in our next episode because we still have the offseason to go through. This is our instant reaction episode. But one that I do want to address was from Jonathan. And is, did the Preds get more value now than they would have if they traded Arvi at the deadline? I don't think Arvidsson's value is going to change that much between deadline and right now. Maybe you get a lower end prospect tossed in too.
Yeah.
Potentially because of the want. And this is where that Foligno thing comes in too. Mm-hmm. But the Foligno aspect of it was the Leafs were in absolutely win now mode. The price was set high on so many different players. They wanted that leadership quality as well that he provided. And for some reason, when it comes to the NHL around the trade deadline, bottom 6 players are overvalued all the time because of leadership and grit. It's just something that happens. They want that locker room presence.
I mean, he's also a captain, right? Like, that gets thrown in there too. Like,
so that's one of the reasons why. And here's the reason why Foligno went for a first. Someone is willing to pay it.
100%. I do think, to answer the question, I think you could have got more for Arvidsson at the trade deadline, but there was a snowball's chance in hell David Poyle was going to trade at the trade deadline any of his assets.
Yeah, no, 100% agree.
Right,
so it's all hindsight right now, but I still don't think it would have been that much more. Maybe you get a team that would have
get a pair of seconds.
But I still don't, because I think teams then there's something else they're looking for, especially for a deep run. Arvidsson, I don't think would be the type of player you're looking for a deep run.
But he's not the guy. Like, you're not necessarily picking him up for the year and saying F it like the Leafs did with Foligno.
Well,
you have him at 3 years at 4.7, I think it is.
Yeah, that's true. 4.25.
Like, yeah, you have him at it's a team friendly contract.
It is.
Like, it's not a rental. Yeah, it's not a rental. I definitely think you could have got a pair of seconds at the deadline. With a
still
bit more.
Not much. Yeah, so still not that much difference.
He wouldn't have fetched a first, I think, is the long-winded roundabout that we're trying to get to.
I don't think so either. So now let's look at again what this does for the Predators. Currently, according to Cap Friendly, Predators have I'm opening up the Cap Friendly. Oh, there we go.
I've got it open.
About $23 million, so $22.85 million in cap space. That's the projected right now. Again, we've said this multiple times before, but the free agents, obviously priority is Justus Saros. You still have Pecorine make a decision, and David Poyle said on 102.5 The Game that they're going to talk again after July 4 and see where they stand on that. You also have Dante Fabro, Ben Harper, Eric Goodbranson, no. Matthew Olivier, sure, qualify him. Ellie Tolvanen, bridge him potentially. And then you have Eric Holla, Mikhail Granlund, Brad Richardson, no. So there's still work to be done. Plus a bunch of guys that are in the minors. You have Rem Pitlick, that definitely needs to be there. Tanner Jeannot, an RFA. Then you also have a couple other ones like Anthony Richard, Michael McCarron, Sean Malone. A bunch of these guys saw their debuts too. Josh Wilkins, Lucas Craggs, and Cole Smith. A bunch of those guys did see their NHL debut in the season as well. And I mean, you need to be able to fill Milwaukee up with some players too, because there's still not as many coming up from college and junior to pop in Milwaukee. So a lot of those guys are going to be qualified already. But that extra $4.25 million in cap space does a lot when you think of what it's going to take to sign Justus Saros.
Yeah, that's exactly what it. I think the two biggest positives internally for the Predators is one, you can sign Justus Saros, and two, you can have a bit more wiggle room at the expansion draft now. I mean, in a perfect world, you don't protect Matt Duchene or Ryan Johansson. Like, let's just get that out of the way now. But I do think David Poyle will protect them both. I think you agree with me there.
I was, and now I've kind of leaned differently.
You think he's...
I think it's one of those things you'll have a discussion with them and their agents saying, look, we've talked to the Kraken.
Fair. I like
they're
that.
They're probably not going to take you. For the sake of our team, we need to protect these guys and expose you. Like, have that conversation. Because I really don't think Seattle's going to take them, because that is... if they were going to take one, they would take Johansson over Duchene because of production.
And age.
So I think that this is where I would lean more towards why they get exposed, is because there'd be a conversation that is had and say, look, we've talked with Seattle. They don't intend to take you anyways. Here's who they're probably going to end up taking, but we need to protect our own for the sake of this franchise. That's what I think will happen.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's the optimal thing. And if you have that conversation and Seattle goes, well, we took you. If you're David Poyle, you'll just go, oh, okay.
Oh, man, I can't believe you surprised me.
So,
wow.
Let's say they don't protect Johansson and Duchene. Then it's Forsberg, Cunnin, Sissons, and Yarncroke, right?
That makes sense, yeah.
And then on your D, it's Yossi, Ellis, Ekholm, and Fabro.
Yep.
And then and Saros, obviously. Like, don't even need to say that. But, yeah. But if they don't protect Johansson, or if they do protect Johansson and Duchene, then it's Sissons and Yarncroke that are exposed, right? Like, those are the two likeliest. I don't think there's no chance Luke Cunnin gets exposed now, right?
They're not going to expose him when they traded for him like that. I mean, no.
Do you want a 23-year-old making 20 or 2.3 mil? Have him. Like, that's just...
Yeah. Yeah, and that's where I would be, I guess, more okay with them losing Sissons than Yarncroke.
I'm honest to God, they're interchangeable to me in terms of how much I'll care. Like, I like Yarncroke slightly more. Like, if I were to rate them out of 10, and 10 would be like, oh, don't take them from me. Yarncroke's like a 7 and Sissons is like a 4?
Well, okay, that's 3 points difference.
Yeah.
Because Yarncroke is more of a player that can play in almost any position in the forwards.
Yeah.
And he can be responsible enough. Whereas Sissons, he was first-line center in the Stanley Cup final. But that's not ideal for him.
I mean, Philip Deneau is now the first-line center in the Stanley Cup final.
But Kelly Yarncroke is much more versatile. And I think more important overall, granted, they're both team-friendly deals, and that definitely helps the Predators in the long run. But
kind of what I was,
Yeah. So that's it. One here or the other. We'll figure that out. We'll find out what the protection list is a few days before the actual expansion draft, and then everybody will freak out again. We'll do a reaction episode because that's just going to be the chain of events that's going to happen that week.
It's going to be fun.
But this provides a lot of wiggle room, and I just want to commend people for understanding why this happened, and commend the Predators, if anything, too, because, I mean, I've been pretty judgmental about non-moves, and they actually changed up the core a little bit. Should they be done? No. There's still more they need to do. I still think a move on defense could be made as well to free up some space. But the big thing, if they can somehow find a way to get rid of one of those $8 million contracts, then I will give them an A in the offseason.
I thought you were gonna say what I would give for getting to go to a sports game.
No, I'm not going to troll you that hard. Now you just gave me ideas though for later in the podcast.
Why? I was talking about losing a testicle to go to a sports game. Why has that given you ideas? Don't
Rocky Mountain
that.
Oysters.
Oh God.
But for real though, this was a good move, and this is not a rebuilding move. This is not if they're going to have to get rid of one of Johansson, Duchesne, Ekholm, Ellis, Forsberg for it to be considered a rebuild. This is still a retool now.
I think if you get rid of Forsberg, it's more than a rebuild. That's waving the white flag and then burying your own grave with
of
your
course,
white flag.
because that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. So the way that I see it, though, since they did this with Arvidsson, if they get rid of one of the $8 million contracts, I will, no matter what they do at the draft or free agency, I'll give them an A for the offseason because they freed up a ton of money. No, because they freed up a shit ton of money.
You just said at free agency. What if they cleared up all this space and then went 2-year deal, 2-year deal, 2-year deal, $4 million for you, $6 million for you, $4 million for you? Like,
they're not gonna do that.
But you can't say that. You give them an A if Poyle goes and fucks the dog. Like, you can't.
There's your one.
Oh yeah, we get one a month. What is it? July? I got it on July 1st. So for the second, oops. But that's just how I feel. Like, he can't go out and just be like, well, I cleared up all this space.
I'll revise it. I'll give them no lower than a B-.
That's a lot more fair.
Okay.
I like that one.
They get a full-on passing grade.
If he just does average things from now on out.
Just like all we wanted them to do in the power play is be average.
Average. Like, you go out and you clear out one $8 million man. Here's my checklist. One $8 million man out the window. Check. UC Saros signed. Check. What else do we need on this checklist? We need... I'm trying to think of anything else. Tolvanen, bridge deal. Check. That's the core three. That's what I really give a damn about. After that, trade Ryan Ellis or Matthias Ekholm. One of them. Check.
At this point, I'd rather trade Ryan Ellis.
Me too.
Ekholm, in terms of his value and his intensity, and he actually does make the team more difficult to play against. And the thing is, Ellis still has value. If Viktor Arvidsson was seen with value and his injury proneness...
Yeah, but at the same time,
Ellis's contract's different.
Arvy's younger and Ellis makes more.
Right.
For a longer time.
But top pairing defenseman that can score.
Yeah, but are you willing to take a risk for that long with that much money when he could fizzle out and turn into a bottom four?
Have you seen what some GMs do in this league?
Oh, they're all dumb. Like everyone makes.
So
dumb moves.
I mean, the league in general by hiring that influencer is dumb.
That was awful.
So general managers.
So bad.
It's so cringe. It's awful. It's completely awful, stupid, ridiculous. I mean, come on. Anyways, but you're not a teenager. Sorry.
You're right.
You need to be more cringy. And never mind, having problematic TikToks, and they hire him as a consultant. Anyways,
must be nice.
They all dumb.
Yeah.
Someone would do it.
Yeah, but I mean, like, when you do trade a Ryan Ellis, it's not going to be a Viktor Arvidsson type deal where you retain no salary coming the other way.
Oh, yeah.
In a Ryan Ellis trade, you're getting a contract back.
Yeah.
Like, I hope David Poyle isn't dumb enough to be like, we will give you $6.25 million worth of Ryan Ellis. You are allowed to give us $6.25 million worth of contracts. That's that's what you want to avoid. I don't see that.
I was just saying more of who I would be okay with more so. I would prefer them to keep Matthias Ekholm right now.
Me too. I think Matthias Ekholm brings more value, like you said. Yeah. It's weird, too, because he's older.
He is, but I mean...
He plays younger, if that makes any sense.
Well, also, he's responsible. He does have that grit and tenacity, which I still hate using that word, but it's true, because he does play with an edge, and the right edge, and he will stand up for his teammates. He goes nuts every once in a while. I think he's kept it in check more, but he will let people know when he is displeased with what they're doing, as Matt fixes his pop collection.
I just banged my knee off my desk, too.
Ugh. But yeah, that's the way I see it. So it gives them some wiggle room, and that's why I like the trade, because it gives them space to do things they need to do, because this team was running right up against the cap and not playing like a team that is running up against the cap. They have to make some wiggle room for prospects to come and play too. This opens up a roster spot for a young one like a Philip Tomasino to come in and make a difference, for Ellie Tolvanen to be full time on the roster as well. It gives opportunities to more guys.
Do you remember last year when there were a few roster spots available?
I know.
In from the top ropes comes Eric Holla. Like, we just have to temper it. That's why right now, like I said to Chris, it's just can't really predict what the Kings are going to do. You can't really predict what the Preds are going to do, or any team in the offseason that has a lot of holes to either fill or address.
They obviously opened the space for Alex Ovechkin. That's what they did.
Shut up now. Also, if you listen to this podcast and you had a child in the car when I said the F-bomb, because I know some people will listen with children, that's a word of the day you got to explain. Unless mommy or daddy have already said that word around, then I don't feel as bad.
Oh, no, I have a word of the day for them.
What is it?
Queef.
Why is that on your mind? Where did that come from?
That's the dictionary?
No, I know what a queef is, but I mean, like, why is that your go-to word right now?
Oh, you know what it is. Well, children, ask your mommy or daddy to explain to you.
Do not. Do not ask what that... Where did that come from? Were you watching, like, weird videos or something?
Weird videos? No, it's called The Hub. But no, I wasn't.
You leave The Hub out of this. Hey, Hub, want to sponsor us?
I'll leave The Hub in my incognito browser.
Oh, we'd have to rebrand if we got The Hub. Quadruple P, Preds, Pucks, Pinoys, porn.
It'd be QP.
The QP podcast. Wow, we'd have to change our rating to mature in a heartbeat.
I was going to say more in a dick beat, but okay.
What? Well, you need to go address something after this.
Sorry, wait, no. More in a dick beat there. Is that better?
I don't know if it's any better, but it's certainly something.
Well, anyways, Matt, we have a winner to announce.
If you stuck with us this long, we do. Like I put in the thing, I'm just going to roll them here. If you are a bot, I'm re-rolling. We're going to fact check.
There were a lot of bots.
Yeah, we're going to fact check live on air. So I'm going to draw the winner now. One winner.
This is for the $100 giveaway, by the way.
So
thank you all for participating.
Yeah, so 227 people are entered right now. Here we go.
Quote unquote people.
Yeah, bots. Thanks for following. I'm gonna just do a little fact check here.
It's these accounts that you click on it and it says loves giveaways. Okay.
That's literally this one littered in giveaway accounts. Where is reroll?
Yeah. We're gonna have to reroll like 5 or 6 times.
That's okay. Repick win. Yeah. Just don't be a clown.
Oh, honey, that's what the internet's made for.
Oh my god.
Well, we also had someone ask that we need to talk about Loki.
Oh, we can do that.
Yeah. See, we can absolutely do that.
I watched the last one.
You're caught up then.
I am caught up, yes.
Okay, we will touch on Loki here. So if you haven't watched the latest episode of Loki,
if your top tweets are when I go and check out your thing, come check out this giveaway. This is part 1 of 3 of our part series. Stick around for parts 2, 3, and more for updates and a giveaway. Like, I'm not gonna pick you. Stop being a giveaway bot. But you know what the funny thing is? Some of these giveaway bots have found the secret code.
Mm-hmm.
How?
Because they do multiple entries too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, some of them really are people, and that's just what they do.
They just
I don't think they're all bots. They just click onto the next, click onto the next. They'll probably take a couple hours out of each day to try to win. And you know what? I bet it works.
100%. I bet you all these people, like...
They win free shit all the time.
It's not okay. Anyways, Loki.
Oh, you're still waiting to pick, huh?
I got it. I got the winner.
Okay.
This is a real person.
Okay, who is it?
Dave Draghi has won.
Oh, wow.
He won with the secret code.
Wow, okay.
Which is triple. What other actions did Dave do? Dave, congratulations, buddy.
Congratulations, Dave.
Can I see the other ways that he did it? Yeah, I can.
Dave, your assignment now is to spell my word of the day on Twitter and tweet it at Matt.
If you can spell Dave's last name, I will be incredibly impressed. I'm going to say it once. Dragomouts. Dave, if I messed that up, I'm partially sorry.
Dragomutz.
Wow, impressive. But up here,
And I did not look it up.
Up here, we call it a Z, but yeah, impressive.
I did not look it up. I promise.
Dave,
I was going, but you pronouncing it that way helped me.
Yeah, I probably just super did that wrong. He entered the secret code, subscribed on Breaker, subscribed on Anchor, followed me on Twitch, visited our YouTube page, our Facebook page, subscribed on Spotify, subscribed on Google Podcast.
Good Lord.
Followed all the Twitters, did it all. Dave's also been around since like day one of this podcast.
Yeah.
And by day one of this podcast, I mean day one of Locked On Predators, and Dave's an OG, so I'm quite happy that I think for all the giveaways, this is the first time one of my buddies has won, or like someone from Canada.
Yeah.
So there we go. This is easy. Dave, I'll message you.
So wait, does Dave get $100 Canadian or $100 American?
No, it's American. Canadian? It's American. I promised him.
Dave, you making bank, buddy?
I promised him American bucks, so you get American bucks. It'd be kind of scummy if I was like, have $76.
Yep.
But yeah, no, easy peasy.
All right. So, folks, we appreciate you tuning in. Up next, we're going to talk Loki.
Yeah, I like how we didn't talk Loki.
This episode, if you've not seen the latest episode of Loki, which is episode 4, you probably want to turn it off right now. Because we're going to talk about plenty of spoilers about Loki. So, Matt, before I go full nerd on this, your thoughts on episode 4 and Loki up to date, and what your thoughts on this whole series are so far. And only 2 episodes left now. Only 6-episode miniseries, folks. So it's coming right down to it.
Oh, I didn't know that. That makes me kind of sad. I thought it was longer. Damn. Loki, for me, there's only been 1 episode where I was like, meh. And that was the one without Owen Wilson, to be truthful. And it's not because Owen Wilson wasn't in it, but it's because I just enjoy the segments about the TVA itself and like being at the TVA. I find that so interesting, and it's just totally different than what we're used to. Like, we're used to seeing superhuman or superheroes go and fight and kick ass and all those things, and that's kind of what that episode was. But it's so cool seeing like what the TVA is, and understanding it more has led to the realization in the last episode of it's all pretend, like it's not a real thing. And to me, I was like, it could have been built up a little bit more. It was still good, don't get me wrong, like it was great, but I think it could have been built up a tiny bit more. Also, I'm not gonna lie, when Loki got zip-zapped at the end of this episode, I was sad. I was like, he was about to be happy, and then he went kaboosh.
He was about to realize his worth.
Yes.
And that he could be liked and not alone. Like he was told he will be alone forever. Like with Sif. And oh my gosh, we got to see Sif again finally.
That was pretty cool.
Finally, Jamie Alexander made her appearance because she was not able to be in Ragnarok. So Jamie Alexander back, making an appearance, and as great as Lady Sif. So multiple things. Let's just start right off. Ravonna Renslayer. We all got those bad vibes and the very beginning, right? And for those of you that don't know, Ravonna Renslayer is in the comics typically the lover of Kang the Conqueror, and that's why there's so many of these YouTube videos and TikToks and everything talking about how is Loki introducing Kang the Conqueror, because we are supposed to get Kang the Conqueror, I believe, and it's is it? No, it's I think Ant-Man, the upcoming Ant-Man and the Wasp, and so there's supposed to be Kang the Conqueror coming up soon. It's either that or Multiverse of Madness, but I believe it is in the Ant-Man and the Wasp. So we're supposed to be getting Kang the Conqueror sometime soon, where he is basically based on conquering all timelines. That's cool. He's a time traveler, and so now this connection with Ravonna, and then what we see happen where Sylvie beheads the robot timekeeper.
That was so badass. I loved it.
And we saw that they were animatronics. I mean, they obviously made them look like animatronics for that reason, right?
Like spooky Chuck E. Cheese animatronics.
Yeah, yes. Spooky Chuck E. Cheese. It was really curious to see that as well. And then she went full villain mode when Sylvie was asking. She's, I don't remember. Mm-hmm. Or I don't know. In full villain mode with that as well. That, and we saw that all pretty much everyone at the TVA are variants themselves. Yeah. So therefore, they've just been collecting variants and erasing timelines of those variants because someone in charge does not want there to be multiple variants. And then at the very end, the end credit scene, if you did not watch through the credits.
I only watched it because you tweeted about it and put it on Facebook as well. So thank you for the PSAs. Otherwise,
multiple people said that. You got to watch the credits through at least until it gets to the black screen credits, folks, just in case. You never know what's going to happen, especially with Marvel. And even I think Star Wars has done it a couple. There's been certain Star Wars series, whatever.
Yeah.
Make sure you watch it. But when people get pruned, they're not killed. They're sent to another destination.
Definitely thought they died.
Yeah, and when Loki comes back, he sees other variant Lokis, including one that looks more like Thor, but it is a African-American man. That's Loki, a child Loki holding alligator Loki, and then Richard E. Grant as old man comic book accurate Loki.
It was the alligator thing. I was like, what? I literally had to pause it and look at it and be like, what is going on, and process it.
And it was one of those, oh my God, because it means then that all those variants are in this location, which looks like either a post-apocalyptic New York, because in the background, if you pause it, you see what looks like a torn up Avengers Tower.
Mm-hmm.
Or this could be where the quote-unquote TVA has put things from different universes into this one destination. So maybe it is a torn up Avengers Tower mixed with other things. So it could be post-apocalyptic Earth, obviously not Earth 616, which is the timeline that we're used to dealing with in the MCU is Earth 616. And I'm very curious how they're going to do that. That also means Owen Wilson should not be dead, and that there's still potential that we could see him riding a jet ski.
He's so good in this.
He is. He's really good in this. And I'm curious to see what type of role Miss Minutes plays in this. I know it's been very minor, but I think there's more to that android technology that Miss Minutes is than just the trainer and talk about the TVA. It's obvious the timekeepers don't exist anymore as is because they Wizard of Oz'd us in that, and there's somebody else pulling the strings behind this that wants to be in charge. It's all about power. That's what it comes down to, is power in all this. But the big thing with character development in Loki was, I know I'm not the only one to sense this because most people talked about it, there is a tension between Loki and Sylvie.
Oh, yeah.
And it's an interesting tension because they're supposed to be the same, right?
Oh,
they're supposed to be the same person.
Weird.
But how right is it, though, that if you are that type of person that Loki is, that of course the person you would fall in love with would be yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense, but the realization, the character development of Loki, because we all have to remember that this version of Loki is from 2012. This is Avengers Loki, who did not experience Ragnarok and what went through there and actually saving his people, did not witness what happened in Infinity War when trying to kill Thanos and stand up for his brother. He just got to see it.
Yeah, but he never felt it.
There was never that realization of his worth and value because, like it's been said multiple times, is his purpose was to be chaos and to fail so others could see the best of themselves, like the Avengers, like his brother Thor, like all these different things. But he never realized his worth and value. And in this most recent episode, that's what he was eventually coming to do, was realize he had value and purpose beyond just being chaos, that he could be a person, just like what Owen Wilson said, you can be whatever you want to be, Loki. You could be good. Mm-hmm. And just like how he's talking with Sylvie and coming to that realization, it doesn't have to be alone, like it was talked about. Like, that's deep. It gets deep in terms of character development because we all think about these Marvel shows of, yeah, if you want to look at it at the top level surface, 100% okay with me. I love looking at the storyline angles of this and where they're taking it from the comic book inspiration for it, but also the brilliant job these actors are doing to bring their characters to life and going through the realization. Because that's got to be interesting. Tom Hiddleston played a different version of Loki. Like, he played Loki up to the point where his neck was cracked in Infinity War and has to revert back to being mischievous, devious Loki trying to take over the world, and then come to a realization again. Like, he has to go through that whole process again as an actor, which I think is brilliant, and how he has to do that. Like you said, Owen Wilson's been fantastic, but I love seeing that realization in the character development that it has done for Loki as a character, because he's been one of my favorites because of him being an anti-hero of sorts, is what he's turned into instead of a villain. And all that to me is deeper meaning, and I love how they're doing this. And people's worth and value. Just like we see mental awareness, we see more awareness, representation, and everything too. And Captain America and the Winter Soldier, and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and just like we're seeing personal growth and value of worth in Loki right now.
Which one out of all of them do you think you personally connect with the most?
I can better answer that question when this series is done. I think I can personally connect more with Falcon and the Winter Soldier because of some of the values in there as someone that is, just like both of us, right? How we're both minorities.
Yeah.
So I feel like I can connect there a little bit more too. Granted, I am not black, obviously. I can't relate to the everything that African Americans have had to go through and that black people have had to go through in North America, not just the US, but in North America in general. And I've been very privileged. One, my last name probably helps a little bit. That is it's not a Filipino last name because my dad's the white dude.
Yeah.
So I didn't deal with much prejudice growing up. It's more been like comical prejudice more than anything else with friends and everything.
Oh, yeah.
So I haven't deal with that, but I feel like I connected that more and seen how important it is to see the realization of people saying, hey, he looks just like me, and how important that is. I mean, how we've talked about, to bring it back to hockey, seeing other Filipino hockey players, seeing like Jason Robertson do things. It's a really big deal because it's cool to see. And not that I want to be an NHL player, but it's cool for young people growing up. And so a little kid that maybe they're a second generation American of Filipino descent living in California or the Pacific Coast or something like that, and seeing a Filipino out there playing hockey, like, well, I can do that too.
I mean, it's the same thing with like me and Paul Correa, right? I looked at Paul Correa and I was like, you don't look like a bunch of the other dudes. I don't look like a bunch of the other dudes. I like you. You can play sports. I like sports. You're cool.
Yeah. Same thing with girls in hockey as well, and growing that as well, and making sure there's a pathway. So I feel like I connect with that more. But the thing is, I see the total value. I've seen WandaVision, mental health, and how important that is. And obviously with Loki too, it gets the emotional heartstring moments of realizing someone's worth and value.
Yeah.
And how it even talked emotionally too about Loki's mom and how she's the only one that really saw him and gave the time and attention to him to see his value and worth too, and was willing to do that.
The fact that we can ask these questions, like with the Marvel movies, don't get me wrong, they're all great. And if anyone can analyze them, it's you. But I feel like with these miniseries, we're more able to be like, what can you connect with instead of which movie did you think kicked the most ass? It's like, yeah, 100%. It's easy to come up with a top 3 of series you enjoyed, but the series that you perhaps connected with the most won't be the same as the series that you enjoyed the most. Like there's
for sure.
Like I do think that at the end of the day, Falcon Winter Soldier is the one that I personally can connect with the most. But honestly, out of the 3 so far, it's my least favorite. Like it's It's like Loki right now is my favorite. I think this is just
I'm liking the exploration.
It's so sarcastic. Loki. It's witty. It's smart at the same time. It has its ass kicking moments. Like I love it. But I just feel like you said with Falcon and Winter Soldier, it's like hey, cool, neat. But with Loki, it's like, I can relate to that. And with WandaVision, it's like, I can relate to that. But it's just like, that's not the biggest part of me that relates to it.
Right. And what's been neat, too, with what Disney Plus has been able to do with the Star Wars universe, with Mandalorian, and what they're going to continue to explore, and now with Marvel, miniseries gives more time to explore stories and character development and plot. A movie, Marvel movies especially, you're going to be like 2 hours, 20 minutes, 2 hours, 30 minutes. There's only so much you can do there. You think about putting all these episodes together in these series, how long of a movie it would make. Falcon and Winter Soldier, like a 5-hour long movie.
Yeah.
Loki, each episode's been around 45 minutes or so, 45 to 50 minutes, and there's 6 episodes. That's a really long movie. But it's great because you're able to take more time and develop it and develop a plot for these TV series and really put in the worth of character development that you don't always get in a movie. And I love it too if they do, which they pretty much all should be, one season. You're not having to drag things on. Like sitcoms and dramas on TV really frustrate me because they don't know when to stop.
That's fair. Okay, I didn't know where you're going with that.
No, they don't know when to stop because they're milking the money, and I get it. They're milking the money. But for instance, like Manifest is one I know has frustrated a lot of people because it's about...
Is that the disappearing on the plane one?
the plane disappeared, and then it came back 5 years later. People have moved on, but then all of a sudden it lands, and they don't know what the reason why is. I didn't even watch season 3 because I heard it got canceled, and no one's picked it up, and it's not gonna get picked up. So, and it leaves with a big cliffhanger. Why would I want to do that to myself? If I think what would be so successful, and I understand why, because it's just not how the business works. If a drama series came in and when a pilot like, look, here's our plan for 4 seasons.
Stick to it and go.
This is what our plan is going to be. We want to wrap up the story instead of just continually going on for the sake of making more money. I would love that as a fan of TV and a fan of movies and a fan of entertainment like that, and a sitcom as well. We all know those sitcoms that in their last 2 seasons, you can tell they're just doing it for the money because the storylines get really whack, and they're like, oh, we need to figure out how to wrap this sucker up.
I think the perfect example of that, and I just had to Google it real quick, was Breaking Bad.
Okay.
5 seasons. That's it. 62 episodes. I just looked it up. They didn't extend it, but that's a show you could have milked. Like, you could have stretched that.
Oh, for sure.
MRFer for a long time. Walt gets a new drug cartel boss. Jesse goes off and does this on his own and then comes back to Walt. Like, they could have explored the hell out of that. I think what made Breaking Bad so good was that they didn't stretch it out. Yeah, they did the movie, but that was years later, so they kind of get a pass for that.
Right.
But the series itself, that's the perfect example, I think, of just it went on for a certain amount of years and it was done. Whereas like a show like Community, after Donald Glover, if you haven't watched it, spoiler, and I don't feel bad because it's been out forever. After Donald Glover leaves, you're like, well, the show should have probably just ended. And then they went for a few more seasons. And I mean, they brought in some fun names to kind of round it out. They went over to Yahoo streaming, which was abysmal. And it's like, should have just ended after like season 4 or 5, whenever it was that Donald Glover left.
And that's why I like these Marvel ones, because they're exploring in between and connecting it. Just like Star Wars, I know The Mandalorian is gonna keep going, but there's still more to explore in the universe. It's a vast universe in terms of what they can explore there too. And same thing with Marvel, you're connecting these stories and telling deep character stories as well. So it's actually, I think, going to be a weird feeling for me next week to go and watch Black Widow, because it's going to be the first Marvel movie in a long time.
Oh my god!
to go and watch it's 2 years.
Are you? Oh, it's going to be in theaters, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, F you.
Oh, sorry. I did not mean to rub that in. That was not intentional.
Did not even realize it was going to be in theaters.
It'll also be on Disney Plus, but you have to pay for it.
Yeah.
Get some people to pay up with you and
share the account. Well, I share Disney Plus with 3 other buddies, so
I'll split it.
Yeah. Sugar.
But that's going to be weird because, granted, we know Black Widow's story. We know the end game that she dies.
Jesus Christ.
We already gave the spoiler warning. Well, they're not up to date.
It was the same thing with Loki, right? We already knew that he's dead, so it's just like...
Right, but they went to a different universe. I mean, right. Black Widow could exist in a different universe, but Scarlett Johansson already said she's done. But then again, we're going to see a more backstory in terms of how her familial life panned out with her non-family. We know that much, but it's going to be weird seeing a movie that's going to wrap up the story in 2.5 hours, whereas series keep going and you have cliffhangers. And this is another thing why I know I mentioned it when we were back on Locked On. I love how it's once a week and not binging it, because it gives us an opportunity to talk about it, to digest it, to watch it multiple times instead of just watch it all the way through and like, that was cool, on to the next.
And it's also really nice because then I don't stay up until 4 a.m.
Well, yeah, but I really like this because all my favorite YouTubers, my favorite TikTokers on Marvel and everything too, we get a chance to discuss things as a community. That's what's fun. Think of it in a sports sense. Okay, for football, for some reason, that's the first one that comes to mind because it's once a week. Whether it's college or pro, you have one game a week, and what do you spend doing that week? You talk about that game and then the next game. And that's what's fun. That's our livelihood in sports.
Yeah,
being able to talk about the game that happened
and then
what's going to happen in the next one.
Yeah, it's prep. Game happens. Digest. Prep. Like that's
entertainment. I feel like I love that, and I love how this does it for us because as a community of nerds, we're able to talk about this on a podcast, and then the next one's like, oh my gosh, we were so right, or oh my god, we were really wrong on that too. Same thing with sports. They're entertainment, and you have to be able to have time to digest the entertainment, to really enjoy it and appreciate it and dive in and let your brain just think about these things more and more. I really liken it to sports and how we talk about it with that. That's why will there be times that I'll binge, and when Stranger Things comes out, will I watch a couple episodes in a row? Yes, of course I'm going to, because it's there and I want it, and because I know people are going to spoil the shit out of that immediately. So it's like you have to sometimes before it gets spoiled on your timeline from people like us, where we have to be on social media as our jobs. That's going to get spoiled for us. So you have to do that in order to protect yourself. That's why I like these 1 episodes a week, because it gives us time. I love being put on an edge and the cliffhanger happening there, because you think about it and you get so excited for it. It keeps that hype going. I love the hype and ability to be able to develop that as well.
I completely agree. I enjoy talking Marvel with you, because
Thank you.
I feel like I scrape it and I'm like, I enjoyed it because of this and I liked it this, and then you hit me with well, here are the values and here are the underlying storylines, and then I think about it, because now I have a week and I could probably just go rewatch it and have all those things in my mind and be like, got it. It all makes sense. Before we head out of here, I do want to touch on one more thing. This is our longest episode yet, by the way. We're at just about 50 minutes. What did you think about Philip Forsberg's Instagram story today with the thumbs down? I just what do you want him to do? Put a thumbs up? Right. People are
Johansson's post.
I saw Johansson's collage of fun.
But look at the caption. Look at the caption on Johansson's post.
Oh yeah.
Heavy.
What do you want these guys to say though?
But they understand it's a business, and it is one of those things. Arvidsson's a well-liked player in the locker room. They're all buds. I mean, they all had children together. Not Johansson or Forsberg, but a lot of these guys had children, at the same time that all interacted.
Obviously, it's crappy. You're losing a top-line guy, a guy that's been with you through some kick-ass times. It's gonna suck, obviously. I don't think oh god, I almost spilled my water everywhere. I don't think by any means that was a nightmare. My heart is racing now. I don't think by any means are these guys pissed at the front office.
No, they're just expressing themselves, and we want people to express themselves.
If someone came up to me today and was like, "By the way, you can't do your podcast with Justin anymore," I'd make a post about it. I'd be like, "This sucks. Big thumbs down." The end. If I was just
it wouldn't be the end. I would fight for you, bitch.
Yeah, thank you. I would just be you're allowed to express yourself.
Well, and we want that, right? We want players to have more personality and everything. I understand the front office probably didn't like it.
Oh yeah, 100%. But I also if Rocco Grimaldi did this, and let's say Dante Fabro went out and made Ryan Johansson's story, does it get any attention? No. But because it's Ryan Johansson and Philip Forsberg, the two guys on the team that are just you're expected to be leaders and score, et cetera, yeah, it's gonna make a fuss. Yep. Does Roman Josi probably feel the same way? Yeah. He's the captain, though. I'm not going to say Nate Schmidt.
You're just say Nate Schmidt.
I have to, because I already dropped the F-bomb.
Oh, okay.
I blew our load for that.
Oh, what a way to end it. Go get a towel.
That's a wiki wild west. Jim West, Desperado. I got to go listen to that now.
Mr. Best is rapping Big Willie.
I love Big Willie. He does that.
Big Willie.
That's
Big Willie style all in it. Getting jiggy with it.
Na.
Folks, we appreciate you sticking with us. Stay tuned. We'll be sure to have more giveaways. We'll have another new episode for you early next week. And as always, if there's breaking news, like we promised, we will continue to put a pod out for you to give our opinions on it. Make sure you're subscribed. If you enter the contest, you are subscribed. But Apple, Spotify,
leave
Google,
a review.
Anchor, leave a review. We're going to do a contest for that, I'm sure.
Yeah,
too.
And if you leave a review now, when we do the contest for that, I'm going to count your entry. Yeah.
So leave a review for us. We appreciate that. And as always, he's at Best of Matt on Twitter. I'm at Justin B. Bradford. It's P Podcast _. We always welcome your thoughts. If you asked a question, we're going to be sure to get those in. We have the entire offseason to get these in. I know some of them are very time sensitive, but we'll get those in next week. For the next episode, we want to make sure we're interacting as much with you, so feel free to tweet us with whatever concerns you have or topics you want us to discuss. We appreciate it.
We have 4 reviews already.
That's fantastic.
Oh, I'm going to read these off air. Nice.
Well, that's great. All right, folks, thanks for tuning in. Bye.
Bye.